Ever notice how it's like always about the grind?
Yeah.
School, work, even like self-help stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's always push harder, go, go, go. But is there a point where, I don't know, maybe it goes too far?
Yeah, it's interesting to think about.
Like, is there a line?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're looking at today, but through this really fascinating concept from Chinese history.
Right.
Studying bitterly.
It's definitely a perspective that can make you think twice about how we view achievement, you know?
Totally.
We're diving into this YouTube video. It's by Anthony Zhu, and it really breaks down this whole idea.
And it's not just theory or whatever. We're talking like real stories about these scholars who went to some pretty crazy lengths for knowledge.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
When I first heard about this, I was like, hooked.
Oh, for sure.
I need to know more.
Because it's one thing to pull an all-nighter, right?
Right.
But these scholars were doing, like, next-level stuff. We're talking pushing through serious discomfort, physical pain, all in the name of learning.
So let's get into it. What does studying bitterly actually mean, like in this context?
So it's basically a direct translation from the Chinese, kit.
Okay.
And it's like super deep in Chinese culture. But it's not just about, you know, hitting the books. It's deeper. It means you got to endure hardship to really learn. Mental, physical, the whole deal.
So we're talking more than just hard work here.
Way more.
We're talking about like embracing a certain level of suffering.
Yeah, basically.
That's intense.
Yeah, and the video gets into it with some pretty intense examples. Like, these are stories that are basically legendary in Chinese culture. You've got Sun Jing and head tied to a beam.
Okay.
And then there's Su Qin, who took it even further with, wait for it, stabbing the thigh.
Okay. Those names definitely get your attention.
Right.
And maybe make you cringe a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
So paint a picture for us. What's going on with these guys?
All right, so Sun Jing first. Picture this. He's got to study all night.
Right.
But, like a lot of us, he's got trouble staying awake.
Yeah.
So his solution, he takes his hair, ties it to a beam above his head, and boom!
Ouch.
Every time he starts to nod off,
Yikes.
that tug on his hair jolts him right back awake.
See, I admire that kind of dedication. I do. But I don't know if I could handle that for a study session.
Yeah, it's pretty hardcore.
That's commitment.
And then you've got Su Qin, who takes this whole pain thing to a whole other level,
Right.
stabbing the thigh.
Yeah.
The name kind of says it all. Anytime he felt himself drifting off, he'd stab himself in the thigh with an awl.
Wow. That's a lot. Even trying to be, understand the culture and everything, that's pretty extreme. Like, what was the deal there? Was it just to impress someone, or was there something more to it?
No, it wasn't about showing off or anything like that.
Right.
Got to see it in the context of ancient China, Their society wasn't, like, easy to move up in the world.
Yeah, pretty different from today.
Totally. It was way more rigid. Your whole life could be decided just by, when you were born.
So not a lot of chances to, like, follow your dreams or climb the social ladder or anything.
Not really, no. And for a lot of people back then, scholarship was like the only way to get ahead, especially mastering those Confucian classics. Those were huge.
Right.
That was the key to maybe getting a good official position, improving your status, escaping a tough life.
Wow, that really puts those stories in a whole different light, doesn't it? It wasn't just about loving to learn. It was about survival almost.
Exactly. It was about hope for a better future.
Yeah.
Their stories, they were seen as super dedicated, yeah. But they also show you how limited their choices were, you know? It makes you think about the kind of pressure they must have felt.
Oh, for sure. I mean, talk about pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes me wonder, all that studying, what was it actually like? I mean, those stories are intense, but it doesn't exactly sound like, intellectual freedom or anything.
Right.
Was it more like memorizing stuff than actually thinking for yourself?
That's a really good point. And the video, it talks about that a lot. See, back then, learning was really connected to how their society worked.
Interesting.
It wasn't separate. Like, they focused on memorizing, mastering those classics just to pass exams. That was the goal.
Makes sense.
It was all about showing what you knew within the system, And their system valued obedience, conformity.
Not really about rocking the boat then.
Not so much, no. You didn't really challenge the rules or anything.
Huh. It's so different from how we see learning today, at least in the West.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we're all about critical thinking, questioning things, being independent.
Totally different worlds, really.
It is. Speaking of different worlds, the video goes from ancient China to, get this, Albert Einstein.
Right. A completely different approach to learning.
Total opposite, probably.
Yeah.
So what can we learn from Einstein then?
Einstein is all about curiosity. learning on your own terms. The video talks about how when he was a kid, he was obsessed with a compass.
A compass?
Yeah, like this simple thing sparked this lifelong curiosity in him.
Oh, interesting.
And that need to figure things out, it stuck with him. He even said school was kind of stifling, you know? All that memorizing, it wasn't for him.
So while those Chinese scholars were pushing through all that pain to master what was already known, Einstein was driven by discovering new things.
Exactly. And it wasn't like rebelling for no reason. Einstein, he got that just memorizing stuff. It had its limits, you know?
Yeah.
He needed freedom to explore, to figure things out his own way, even if it meant making mistakes.
It makes you wonder, what if Einstein had been forced into that Chinese system? Would he have been as successful?
Right. It's a trip to think about. And there's this other cool thing from the video.
What's that?
Some of Einstein's biggest breakthroughs, they happened while he was working this kind of boring job.
Really?
A patent job, can you imagine?
Wow.
But he said later that having that job, it gave him the space to just think. That time to make connections he might not have made otherwise.
So sometimes being bored can actually be, like, helpful.
It seems that way. And it leads to this really cool concept. The video talks about leisure, or skole in ancient Greek.
Okay.
Which, and this might surprise you, is actually where we get the word school from.
Wait, school comes from leisure. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, it sounds kind of off, right? But it wasn't about being lazy or anything. For those ancient Greeks, leisure was like super important for learning.
Interesting. Like Aristotle and all those guys.
Exactly. They believed you needed time and space to really think deeply about things, to let your mind wander, not just to get ready for a test or anything.
That's pretty cool. But, you know, in the real world, not all of us can just sit around and think all day.
Right, exactly.
I mean, you've got a point. It's like our world, it's all about being busy, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's a badge of honor to be totally swamped all the time.
Yeah, it's true. And it's not that hard work is bad or anything.
Right.
But have we forgotten how to just think, you know?
To actually, like, let our minds wander and make those weird connections that lead to something new.
Exactly. And that kind of brings us back around to, like, the heart of all this, you know? To that final thought we want to leave everyone with.
Oh.
Like, if those Chinese scholars with their intense studying and all, if that was how they dealt with having such limited choices,
Yeah.
what does the way we learn today say about us? You know what I mean?
That's deep. Are we learning because we're really curious,
Yeah,
passionate about something?
right.
Or is it more like, we got to keep up, got to achieve, the world's moving so fast, we can't be left behind?
Yeah, it really makes you think, what if learning was mostly about joy? About wanting to understand, not just compete.
That would be amazing.
Right. It might sound kind of, I don't know, naive or something, but when you look at these different ways of seeing learning,
Yeah,
it can help you find some balance.
totally. So it's like we're on our own journeys, right? Learning new things. Maybe we got to stop and ask ourselves, like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Am I actually enjoying it? Is there curiosity there?
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, the best kind of learning, it comes from that place of genuine interest.
Totally.
And who knows, maybe that means embracing a little bit of that ancient Greek leisure thing.
Finding that time to just be with our thoughts.
Huh.
Let our minds do their thing.
Exactly.
This has been awesome. Thank you so much for, like, walking us through all this. It's been really eye-opening.
Happy to do it. These connections are fascinating.
Totally. And to everyone listening, happy learning. May your journey be full of curiosity, joy, and a good dose of leisure, too.